And then I will share my screen with everyone. Let's see where we are. All right. Cindy, I can see you. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen, my slides? Perfect. Thank you. So again, welcome everyone. My name is Kim Kreider. I am a health educator with WellSpan. I am in Chambersburg, Franklin County. So I welcome you from wherever you are across the WellSpan footprint. I am doing this breathing technique workshop in September as part of our suicide prevention activities. I did do this same presentation back in May. So if you were part of that back in May, this is the same presentation. However, I would invite you to stay and invest that hour in yourself and go through the practices again, because we learn different things at different times. So let me switch to our next screen. Awesome. So a little bit more about me. I just mentioned I'm a health educator. I'm also a registered certified yoga teacher, and I love teaching yoga and meditation and mindfulness. And a big part of yoga is pranayama, or breathing techniques. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about 4 different breathing techniques. I'm going to show a short video on the mechanics of breath, so we're all on the same page with how our body takes in and releases breath. And then we'll go through the 4 different breathing techniques. I'll leave time for questions after each technique if there are any. And then we'll do a guided meditation to close. Also, if you're on this call, you got the Zoom link from Brandy Hellman. And with that email were 2 attachments, one of which was all of the instructions for the breathing practices we're going to go through tonight. I wanted to make sure that you didn't need to worry about writing anything down. I've done it all for you. Certainly, if you want to take, personal notes on, what might have worked well for you, what you didn't like, or what you had questions on, that's certainly, fine. But I really want you to be as present as you can be. And so I wanted to make sure you had all of the directions that you needed, not only so you could be present, but you have something to practice from after class. So the other thing I want to mention is, as we're going through the practice tonight, if anything feels wonky, breathing practice makes you feel anxious or lightheaded or dizzy or any of those things, which is a possibility, just stop. Don't try to force your way through it. Just stop and come back to your regular breathing. So having said all of that, we'll shift gears just slightly and move into breathing itself. We don't think about breathing all that much. We just do it throughout our day. We may think of breathing if we have a cold, or maybe we're exercising, or maybe we have a chronic breathing condition like asthma or COPD, or something that maybe causes us to focus on our breath every now and again, or for some of us, fairly often. We breathe automatically about 25,000 times a day. So, and we don't have to think about it. Tonight, what we're going to focus on is intentional breathing. So we are going to be taking active steps to control the breathing process, the inhales and the exhales and the holds in between. So that's the difference between just our regular everyday breathing that's automatic and we don't think about, and the breathing techniques that we're going to practice tonight. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment, and then I'm going to reshare. And of course, I don't see it. Hold just a moment. I think it was because I logged into Zoom. Yes, it is. Okay. the heck? Still not seeing it. Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, so I'm going to play this very short video, and it's going to get us all on the same page about how the breath works from inhale to exhale.
Mechanics of breathing. Consciously take a breath and think about the fact that there are 10 different muscle groups working together to make this happen. These muscle groups include the diaphragm and intercostal muscles. The main muscle used for breathing is the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped structure consisting of several large muscles, which is sandwiched between the chest cavity, containing the lungs and the rib cage, and the abdomen, containing the digestive system, including your stomach. The muscles that move the rib cage itself are the internal and external intercostal muscles. They are each attached to the ribs and run between them. To inhale air, the diaphragm contracts and moves down, while the external intercostal muscles contract, forcing the rib cage up and out. The combined effect of the diaphragm and intercostal muscles increases the volume of the chest cavity and expands the lungs. This expansion of the lungs increases their volume, reducing the pressure within them, causing air to be drawn in. This action is similar to a piston sucking petrol into a car engine. In normal breathing, we use around 25% of our lung capacity, which is called our tidal volume. As you inhale deeply, the diaphragm moves further down into the abdomen, pushing your belly out, giving more room for the lungs to expand and draw in more air. This type of breathing is called belly breathing or abdominal breathing, and is critical to prepare you for your free dive. Belly breathing allows you to completely fill your lungs with air. The maximum amount of air your lungs can hold is called your total lung capacity. With training, you can use more of your lung capacity.
All right. Again, give me just a second to reshare my screen. All right, thank you. So we breathe automatically about 25,000 times a day. We just saw how the diaphragm works. So when we're breathing, I certainly, until I started really getting into this work, never thought about the ribs and the intercostals and the diaphragm and all of these things working together just to take one breath. So I wanted, again, to make sure that we had that kind of general picture in our head before we started today. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was breathing, the importance of breathing through our nose as best we're able. When we breathe through our nose, we take in roughly 20% more oxygen. So if you're exercising, oftentimes we will find ourselves with our mouth open because we feel like we can get a big breath. But in reality, breathing through our nose is going to get us the oxygen that we need to feel better while we exercise. Breathing through the nose helps, all the little nose hairs helps clean the air as it comes in through the nose. It helps heat the air. It helps moisten the air. And all of those things make it easier for our lungs to absorb and our cells to absorb everything that's coming in, the oxygen that's coming in through the nose. So additional benefits of breathing through the nose. Breathing through the nose triggers a variety of hormones and chemicals that can help lead to lower blood pressure, ease digestion, regulate our heart rate. So again, and we're all going to be different on our ability to breathe through our nose. This may sound silly, but if you are somebody who tends to breathe through your mouth a lot, you can train yourself to start breathing through your nose. It does take practice and it's worth the effort. In addition, when we start to think about breathing through our nose, think about the left side, the left nostril and the right nostril. Okay, again, something we would never think about making a difference. But when we are inhaling, We engage the sympathetic nervous system. And when we're exhaling, let me start that again. When we're inhaling, we are activating the sympathetic nervous system. So that's our fight or flight. So if you've ever hyperventilated and you're breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, that's typically activated in the right nostril. When we're exhaling, we're activating the parasympathetic, or the relax and rest part of the brain, the nervous system. And that's usually out of the left nostril. Those are kind of how those things work in conjunction with each other. And you know, take away the left and right for a minute and just think about the inhale and the exhale. Breathing out long and slow is very calming. So if you take anything away from tonight, remember that slow exhale. And again, we'll all be different in what that slow looks like and what timing works best for us. And oh heck, the other thing you want to think about, again, over time, this may take practice, is your breathing should strive to be quiet, smooth, even, and continuous. And we want to breathe roughly 5 to 6 times a minute. Most of us are shallow breathers and breathe much more often in a minute than really is best for our body and the nervous system. So we're going to, we're going to begin to move into a breathing practice. And as best you're able, if you can find a quiet spot to practice, I know that might not be possible if you're doing this from work or you're at home with kiddos or pets. Do the best you can. It may mean you're in the bathroom. Also, you know, the purpose of tonight is to slow our breathing down, take in more oxygen, and reduce the use of certain muscles to make breathing more efficient. I talked about the quiet setting. I want to talk about a comfortable position. Oftentimes we're slouching and it doesn't allow, if you remember that model that we just watched with the ribs expanding and the lungs expanding, if we're hunched, that's harder to do. So when we start breathing, practicing our breath tonight, the taller that you can sit up, and I don't mean in any way rigid, but at least having a nice long spine, the more you're going to be able to get that breath deep into the belly. So it may mean you're sitting upright in a nice sturdy chair. You may decide to move to the floor on your back. You won't necessarily need to see me for most of this. You can be guided just by my voice. So find a comfortable position that allows you to stay in that nice long spine for, you know, quite a long while here. And we'll obviously we're going to take breaks so you can release that posture. And then maintain an open attitude. Some of these breath techniques may resonate for you, while others you just don't like for whatever reason, and that's perfectly okay. You may find that you lose complete focus with anything I'm saying. Your, you know, to-do lists are popping up in your head, or, you know, maybe you're focused on a kiddo or whatever. That's fine. Let all those things come and go, and don't attach too much emotion or judgment or create any commentary around that. And try to come back to the sound of my voice or wherever we happen to be in the process of the workshop tonight. And also keep in mind, when I'm sharing my screen like this, I cannot see you. So if you do have a question, I don't see anything in the chat, but you're welcome to take yourself off mute. And in between breathing techniques, I will stop sharing my screen so I can see you. You can leave your cameras off. That's perfectly fine. You know, we will be doing a breathing technique tonight that, you know, some of you may prefer to be off camera because it looks a little weird. So
Kim, can I jump in? This is Carmela.
oh,
I'm
yeah,
just, I'm just wondering, for me, I'm seeing like a dark bar across the PowerPoint sometimes. I don't know if it's just me, maybe my internet is slow. Just kind of wondering if anybody else is seeing that.
Oh,
Maybe it's just me.
I
It goes away sometimes after.
I'm seeing it too.
Okay.
Yeah, I am too.
let me stop sharing.
I think that if you just the little control bar that comes from Zoom, if you move that out of the way so it's not on top of the
Well,
slide.
interestingly enough, I don't see that at all. So let me share my screen again and I'll move that.
Yeah, maybe it's internet connection.
I have it at the bottom of my screen now. I don't know if that's made any difference to you guys.
It looked like it moved to the bottom for me, the little dark thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
I don't know that I can make that go away necessarily.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, at the bottom, at least we can see.
Okay,
where the slide
cool.
is.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that's-
Carmela,
Thank you.
for pointing that out. I didn't realize you might have not seen some of what was up on the screen.
Sure, thank you.
And so we're going to move into our first breathing practice, which is just observing our own breath. So as we're going through this process, we're not going to change anything. We're just observing what's there. So again, find a comfortable position. You can close your eyes. You can take a soft gaze. So if you're seated, maybe you're kind of gazing at your knees or your toes or the floor. If eyes wide open is most comfortable for you, find a fixed point, preferably something that is not moving and is calming to look at. Maybe it's a plant, maybe it's a picture of nature. So we just want to try to bring ourselves inward as best we can. And then I want you to just focus on the breath. Noticing the inhale. Noticing the exhale. Is the breath shallow? Is it deep? Is the inhale and the exhale long or short, a combination between the two? Which is longer? Do you have a longer inhale than an exhale? Maybe it's the reverse. Is the breath labored or is it at ease? Take the next 3 to 5 breaths and just notice what you notice without any judgment, without emotion, without creating any commentary about what's there. Release and relax your attention from the breath. It's coming back to eyes open, batting the eyelashes open if they're closed. And I saw a question pop up in the chat. Should you breathe out through your nose also? Yes. Are there breathing techniques that do recommend breathing out through the mouth? We'll practice one of those tonight, but typically day-to-day breathing in and out through the nose. So we're going to shift into our first full-fledged breathing technique. You may hear it called 3-part breath. You may hear it called yogic breathing. Some folks call it ocean breath or wave breath. In yoga, we'd call it yogic breathing, or 3-part breath would be the most common in the yoga. It is a very standard practice, and I've italicized practice on this slide because it does take practice. Again, I mentioned earlier, we're shallow breathers, which means we don't breathe deep into our bellies on a regular basis, which this breathing practice is going to have us do. So when you practice this on a regular basis, it may help increase oxygen supply to our cells, increase our lung capacity, and bring a sense of calmness and peace. So we're going to take this in phases. So again, find that comfortable breathing posture. Again, that could be seated in a sturdy chair. It could be lying on the floor. Biggest thing to keep in mind is a nice long spine so you can fully take in air. We're going to place one hand or both hands over the belly button or somewhere in that general vicinity. And then I want you to slowly breathe into the belly. So when you're taking that big breath in, I want you to blow the belly up like a balloon. Almost, you should be able to feel the hands pushed upward if you're lying on your back, or pushed forward if you're seated. And then you should feel the belly deflate or the hands pull back toward the spine as you exhale. So practice this for 3 to 5 breaths. Again, inhaling, blowing the belly up with air. That's all we're focused on. And exhaling, feeling the belly fall. Big, deep inhale. Nice, slow exhale. Take one more breath, filling that belly with air. And then slowly release and relax. Take 2 or 3 normal breaths, whatever normal looks like for you. And then we're going to move to the second part of phase 1. I want you to take, again, both hands, one hand, and have them, you're going to slide them up a few inches. So they're covering roughly the bottom of the rib cage. So one or both hands around the bottom of the rib cage. We're going to do the same thing we did just a minute ago, but I want you to focus the breath into the location of the hands. So I want you to inhale and feel the ribs expand. This takes a little bit of practice. Do the best you can here. Inhale, expanding those ribs. And then you'll feel the rib cage retract or deflate, however you want to think of that when you exhale. They'll lower. Lower if you're on your back, or pull back if you're sitting up. So inhale, expand the ribs. And then exhale, let the ribs relax. Again, 3 to 5 breaths, focusing on the space around the ribs. Take one last breath. And then come back to your normal breath rhythm. 2 or 3 breaths, normal breaths. And while you're taking those 2 to 3 breaths, I want you to move the hands just below the collarbone. Again, it could be one hand or the other, or both hands. And then when you're ready, I want you to breathe deeply into this area, feeling the chest rise, feeling the chest spread out on that inhale. And then on the exhale, you'll feel the chest lower or fall back depending on your position. So focus on inhaling into the chest area. 3 to 5 breaths. release and relax your attention from this phase or this step of the phase 1. Come back to your normal breath rhythm. And we're going to move into phase 2 of the 3-part breath. Sorry to have too many numbers going on tonight. So we're going to put all of that together. So I want you to place one hand or the other on the belly button or in that general area, and the other hand up under that collarbone. Doesn't matter which hand is on the belly button and which hand's on the collarbone, whatever's comfortable for you. And we're going to connect all the motions that we just did into one breath. So I'm going to talk us through it first, and then we'll practice it. So when we inhale, we're going to inhale into the belly, and then the ribs, and then the chest. And then we're going to exhale in the opposite direction. We're going to allow the chest to fall, the ribs to fall, the belly to fall. It does take practice. Do the best you can. And I'll start and you hop in whenever you, I'll take us through 3 or 5 breaths. Whenever you hop into the cycle is perfectly fine. So we'll take one regular breath, taking that inhale, taking that exhale, and then we're going to take a nice big inhale, fill up the belly, fill up the ribs, fill up the chest, exhale, release the chest, release the ribs, release the belly. Inhale, fill up the belly, fill up the ribs, fill up the chest. Exhale, chest lowers, ribs lower, belly lowers. Inhale, fill the belly, fill the ribs, fill the chest. Exhale, release the chest, release the ribs, release the belly. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. One more. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. Release, relax, come back to your normal breath rhythm. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. Anybody have any questions, any comments, any thoughts about how the breath made you feel, or you liked it, you didn't like it? I am not seeing anybody unmute or anything going. Go
Sorry.
ahead, Carmela.
Sorry, I had my microphone moved. So as we're breathing in, and you were saying the belly should fill up, and then the chest, and then we should feel our collarbone. So are you controlling those muscles? 'Cause if I inhale or exhale, it just seems like air is moving, but I don't have any control over what happens in what order.
Yes, yes, you are controlling those muscles. I will tell you, it does take practice. So if you felt like you were not able to control that sequence, belly, ribs, chest, ribs, belly, that's perfectly normal. If all you take away from this particular breathing technique is breathing into the belly, blowing the belly up with air, and then releasing that, that's a great place to start. But to your question, Carmela, yes, you would be controlling the muscles that activate those areas as we go through that breathing process. It may not feel like, but if you've ever lifted weights or done any strength training or anything like that, we're kind of doing that now, and we're using muscles we've not practiced with very much because we breathe automatically, we breathe shallowly, so we're not used to breathing into the belly. So we're getting used to using muscles that we normally let automatic processes do for us. I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, because I mean, I found that I was just breathing, but I couldn't get the
Yeah,
It felt
and
like
then-
I didn't have any control over.
Yeah, and
muscles were
again, the
moving.
3-part breath does take practice. To me, it's worth the effort to continue practicing that. But if all you got out of that was being able to fill the belly up with air and then a nice slow exhale, do that and start there. And
Okay.
then you can build from that.
And can I ask one more question?
You know you can.
So earlier, like in the very beginning, you mentioned that we typically breathe 5 or 6 times in a minute, I think you said. Is that
5 or 6 times is what we should do.
what we should? Okay.
We typically breathe much more often than that because we're shallow breathers.
Okay.
If you time yourself for a minute and try to take just 5 breaths, it's very slow breathing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that a way to practice, like trying to time how many breaths and see if we can
Yeah, and
make it
a couple of
5
the
or
breathing
6?
techniques we're getting ready to do are going to force isn't the right word, are going to encourage slowing that breath down, and we'll be taking about 5 breaths in a minute with the next 2 techniques.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So let me go back to the old slides. All right. Hopefully that's still at the bottom. All right. So we're going to switch to box breath. So box breath is used by Navy SEALs currently for quite some time to help them get calm and focused when they're in tense situations. So you don't need to be in a tense situation to use this breath, but it does come in handy if that's happens to be where you are. And box breath will make sense here in just a moment. It's very simply inhaling on a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, exhaling for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4. So we're making a box, if you think of it that way. We will repeat it 3 to 5 breaths for the purpose of this presentation, but repeating it for at least 6 rounds would give you the best outcome if you wanted to calm yourself. And box breath, you may find if you practice regularly, it may increase your mental clarity, your energy. It can have a positive effect on emotions and mental well-being. COVID has certainly wreaked havoc on the mental health of just about everyone. So anytime we can find tools that can help us build some resilience within our mental health, particularly something like breath that's free, we can practice it and we can do it pretty much anywhere and no one's the wiser as to what we're doing. So that's a great thing about something like box breath. So we're going to practice 3 to 5 breaths. Again, inhaling 4, holding 4, exhaling 4, holding 4, and we'll repeat that cycle. So take a regular breath, inhaling and exhaling. Remember, we're sitting up nice and tall or lying flat. And here we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, relax. That was 5 box breaths. So we've really slowed our breathing down in a very intentional, deliberate way. There is a variation of box breath. As I said earlier, a longer exhale will elicit that stronger parasympathetic response, that rest and relax response. So variation on box breath to relax the body more deeply. And it's particularly effective before sleeping is inhale on a count of 4, exhale on a count of 6, and hold on a count of 2. So the hold would be 2 in between each, and then repeat. So that's just a variation of box breath. If you're in a particularly stressful situation, that longer exhale may be more beneficial. And again, I'm going to stop sharing. Any questions, comments about box breath? Very different technique than 3-part breathing. I also mentioned there are hundreds of breathing techniques. We're going to hit 4. So if these don't resonate for you, find a great yoga teacher that likes doing breath work with you. And there are many, many, many more to choose from. Maybe a meditation teacher, but there are lots to choose from.
I found the holding part more difficult. So I guess it's the slowing down of the breathing. But I did use it during the initial quarantine and COVID. But I did that 6-4-2-1, and it really helped. But the count of 4 to hold seems like a longer time to me.
Yes, keep in mind, my count is very cadenced, right? Our internal counts are going to vary. So that 4 hold, Cindy, for you, it might be more of a 3-second hold, depending on how quickly you count in your head. And for me, it might be, as I'm saying it out loud, it may be, if we're timing it, more of a 5-second hold. So keep that in mind. Your internal count may be quick enough that you can get the same benefit. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. You see, I'm doing a much quicker cadence.
Okay.
So keep that in mind as you're going through a breathing technique. And I say that because the next technique we're getting ready to do has a much longer hold than the one we just did.
Okay.
So be prepared.
All right.
Any other questions? And I saw, Carmela, you saying box breath was easier. Yes, some of these breathing practices are going to resonate with you either mentally or physically, emotionally more than others. So I'm glad that you're finding something that works. So let me share the screen again. And all right, so our next breath is a 4-7-8 breath. And just what it sounds like. Inhaling for 4, holding the breath for 7, exhaling on a count of 8. That long exhale, I'll speed up the cadence a little bit this time because that hold and that long exhale, again, takes practice. And I'll come back to the exhale in just a moment. So this is a very deep rhythmic breathing that helps promote deep relaxation. Another great breathing practice to do before bed. Again, you can adjust the internal, oh gosh, I know there's a tempo in your head when you're counting. As you're practicing, the hold and the long exhale will get easier and easier to do because basically we're training muscles as we go. So I'm going to talk us through this breath. We're breathing in for a count of 4, pretty self-explanatory. We're going to hold for a count of 7. And we're trying to do this with mouth closed, inhaling and exhaling, inhaling through the nose. On the exhale, I want you to imagine you're blowing out a birthday candle. We're going to do that for a count of 8. You know, follow along as best you can. If you need to shorten it a little bit, do what you can. We're going to do that again, 3 to 5 breaths. So we're taking that 4 count in. We're going to hold for 7, and we're going to take a out for 8. All right. So let's start with our regular breath. We're going to take a couple. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Here we go. Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, whoosh, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, whoosh, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, whoosh, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Big breath in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, whoosh, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale, whoosh, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Release, relax, come back to your normal breath rhythm. Oh, excuse me, I need to take a little sip of tea. I'm going to stop my share. What do you think? Again, big differences in 3 breathing techniques that we've practiced so far. I like 4, 7, 8 before I go to bed, as well as the next breathing technique we're getting ready to do. Let me check my chat. Nobody's chatted, or nobody's put anything in the chat. I kept the cadence a little, or the tempo. I'm sure there's I don't know which one's the right word, a little bit quicker, because I know that practicing that hold and that exhale is not something we normally do. So when this gives you an idea of what breathing 4 or 5 times in a minute is, really slowing that down.
I found it, I don't know, I won't say hard, but when you were counting the hold, I felt like I was ready to let go of the hold before you got to 7. And then when you were counting the 8, it felt like I was out of breath way before you got that 8.
Yeah.
Like I had blown it all out before.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Carmela. Very normal. This is a new practice where, and it sounds funny to say I've got to practice breathing. But this is what breathing shallowly, and we all do this, causes. We don't use the muscles to take those great big inhales to allow us to hold a big long breath. And then that also allows us that really slow exhale. So I just encourage you to keep practicing, and it won't take you very long to be able to maintain a slower cadence of 4, 7, 8. You'll be surprised. So I would practice at least before bed. You can do 3 to 5 breaths. I wouldn't do any more than 8 or 10, maybe a dozen. and then release it.
So as you are the expert here, so do you find yourself doing that when you're not consciously, like, you know what I mean? You're not trying to breathe, how can I say it?
Well,
Longer breaths, but you just, because you've done it so much that it's just like second nature to you, or
to
do you
some
still have to
extent,
consciously say, oh, let me?
yeah, I do have to still consciously, breathing through my nose, for instance, I have to make a concerted effort to focus on that, particularly when I'm exercising. I have found that as I've practiced, I didn't realize how much I was breathing through my mouth when I was exercising. So closing my mouth, which I talk a lot, so a lot of people are thrilled when it happens. And focusing on really taking deep breaths in through my nose, really made a big difference on the impact on my exercise. So I have to focus on that. When I'm practicing yoga, that comes a little more second nature. Do I breathe shallowly like everyone else? Of course. Is it easier for me to shift into some of the breathing practices that we've done tonight? Yes, it is, because I have practiced them for a number of years, but it's not something that I would say I'm automatically doing while I'm at work all day. Does that
Okay.
help?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Because I just heard something this morning on the news, radio news, about a new, I don't know if it's a new study, but a study that's being done in Colorado, and they've found that people have decreased their blood pressure, which I noticed you had that in one of the slides,
Mm-hmm.
with improving their breathing
Mm-hmm.
technique. And they said there's some sort of device that they were testing. I can't remember the name of the device, to help people practice breathing more deeply. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've
I'm
heard
sure
of it.
there's all, I'm not familiar with what the device would be. And I did see that article pop up somewhere today, in an email, I think at work. But I haven't had a chance to take a look at it. But and I'm going to come back to, well, I'll just say it now. When you got the attachments in your email, one of them was all the directions that you're seeing on the PowerPoint slides. The other one was an additional resource sheet that, actually, let me pull that up. Find you. So that walks you, that gives you a little bit more. I'm a big nerd, right? So I love all kinds of education about all kinds of topics. So I included things here, utilize them, and you got this in your email. The book, Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. I highly recommend that book. There's a link to Max Strohm doing a TED Talk about the power of breath to change mental health. Dr. Andrew Weil, who practiced the 4-7-8 breathing technique. There's a link to that. There is additional instructions for coherent breathing. Another breathing technique similar to box breath. You're doing 5.5 second expanding, 5.5 inhaling. Sorry guys, inhaling softly for 5.5 seconds, expanding the belly, and then without pause, exhaling for 5.5 seconds. And then the thing I wanted to bring up is there are free apps that offer timers and visual guides. One's called Paced Breathing and one is called My Cardiac Coherence. And when you said about that study in blood pressure, it reminded me of the My Cardiac Coherence. So you can check those things out. I only, I don't get anything from promoting any of this stuff. It's just things that I thought might be helpful as you're learning more about breathing and if you wanted to more information. So
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to move to the next because we have about 10 minutes left. We might run over. So we're going to do alternate nostril breathing. This is a great practice. Do you remember when I said at the beginning, the left side and the right side of the nostril serve different purposes? And I'm going to pull my notes here so I don't confuse the two. And inhale, fight or flight, exhale, rest and relax. So just keep that in mind. We're going to be with alternate nostril, creating a nice movement between the two. So you've got some options here. You can take kind of hang 10 sort of pinky thumb. And we're going to be using that. Hopefully you can see me okay, to close off the nostril. You can also take peace fingers and rest them in the middle of your head. This is what I like to do. It just resonates with me, but you don't have to. All right. When we're closing off our nose, try to use the fingers just at the very bottom, because if you close off the whole side of the nose, it tends to get sticky and stick, and then it makes it a little bit harder to get that movement back and forth. So just some tips before we get too far into this breath. So again, hands on the forehead or tucked in, thumb and pinky finger are what you're going to use to close off the nose. So we're going to close off the right nostril, and we're going to breathe in through the left. I'm just talking us through this right now. So we're closing the right nostril, breathing in through the left, then we close off the left and breathe out through the right. Then we breathe in through the right, we close off the right, we breathe out through the left. We breathe in through the left, we close off the left, we breathe out through the right, we breathe in through the right, and then we keep that cycle going. So I will be talking us through just like I did now. Jump in whenever it makes sense to you. You can use either hand. And the directions here kind of refer right-handed person, but you know, whatever works. I'm a lefty, so get your hand position, whatever it is for you, and we're going to get started. I'll walk us through. Join whenever it makes sense for you. We're going to just do 3 to 5 of these breaths. This alternate nostril breathing is a very balancing breathing technique. Another great technique to do before you go to bed. So close off the right nostril, again, closing off at the bottom. Take a nice big inhale through the left nostril. Close off the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Close off the right, breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left, close off the left, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right, close off the right, breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left, close off the left, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right, close off the right, breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left, close off the left, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right, close off the right, breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left, close off the left. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Close off the right. Breathe out through the left. Release, relax. Come back to your normal breath rhythm. You may need to clean up your nose. You would continue maybe doing this, I'd say 5 to 10 cycles. And as you get more practiced at this, you may increase it to 10 or 15 minutes before bed. I'm going to stop share again. Very different breathing technique, alternate nostril breathing technique. this is a breathing technique, you know, if you were at work, you know, it might be obvious what you're doing. Again, great to do anytime, but very relaxing to do before bed. Any thoughts on alternate nostril breathing? All right, so we've got about 5 minutes left. Whoops, let me share my screen again. Oh, that was the last slide. Sorry, guys. All right, so we've gone over 4 breathing techniques. We've talked about, we've watched a short video on the mechanics of breathing. So when we were practicing all of those things, we had 10 different muscle groups working to help make that happen. And we talked about some additional resources, including the book Breath, which again, I highly recommend. And we have about 4 minutes left. I can walk us through about a 5-minute guided meditation just to close out the workshop tonight. You're welcome to stay for that. You're welcome to leave if you'd like to. I would like to close with that if everybody's willing. If you all would prefer leaving, then we can stop. Yay, we're all staying. Cool. So I want you to find a comfortable position. Again, cameras can be off here. You're just going to go by the sound of my voice. We're going to practice a little breathing at the beginning. Choose the method that we'll do 3 breaths. Choose the method tonight that most resonated with you. Box breath, 4-7-8, alternate nostril, the 3-part breath, or whatever you want to practice. Maybe it's something else completely. We'll do a little bit of breathing. I'll walk you through a guided meditation. We'll close out with some breathing, and then we'll close the workshop. So before, and I literally will close the workshop. So if anybody has any questions, feedback, comments that you want to give now, I would encourage you to unmute and do that, because I do want to let you go completely relaxed.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for this. It was very informative and it went so fast. I can't believe an hour went by already, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, you are quite welcome. I love doing it. I'm so glad that you guys were here. I will tell you, sometime tomorrow, you will get an email with a survey. If you would be kind enough to fill that out, it may take a couple of minutes. That's helpful for me to know what went well, what I could be doing differently. And it also, we do collect de-identified data. So your name's not attached to it, which also helps us continue this programming moving forward. So any survey you could fill out would be much appreciated. Any other comments, questions before we move into a guided meditation?
Just thank you very much. It was very good.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it. All right, my friends, find a comfortable position, seated, lying on your back. You can close the eyes, soften the gaze, find a fixed point, whatever works for you. And then turn your attention to the breath. Taking 3 intentional breaths in whatever technique speaks to you. You may choose to just focus on the inhale and the exhale. It's perfectly fine. Release and relax your attention from the breath. Move your attention to the scalp And allow the scalp to release and relax. And let your attention drift down to the ears and the area around the ears. Feel that area release. Gently sweep your attention up to the forehead and the temples. Letting go. Gently move your attention to your sweet eyes and the area around the eyes. Feeling those areas soften and release. Allow the cheeks to grow heavy. If it feels right, loosen the jaw and clench the teeth. Allowing the tongue to rest heavy at the bottom of the mouth if you're seated. Or perhaps fall down the back of the throat if you're lying on your back. Just parting the lips slightly. Allowing the whole head to relax, to release. The neck and the shoulders, and soften and let go. Upper arms, the elbows, lower arms, the wrists, the hands, palms of the hands, backs of the hands, and fingers. Grow heavy, weighted. The torso, pelvis, the hips, and the bottom. Relax. Sink. Release. The upper legs and the knees. The lower legs and the ankles. The heels. Tops of the feet. Soles of the feet. And toes. Soften. Relax. The whole body grows calmer, more relaxed. More at ease. Each gentle, slow exhale allow any thoughts to come and go like clouds across a blue sky. Coming back to the anchor of the breath anytime you feel too distracted. Focusing on the inhale. Focusing on the exhale. Release and relax your attention from the breath. And I invite you to take just a brief moment to set an intention to take this feeling into the rest of your evening. And I'll invite you to take just a brief moment to practice gratitude at the end of a day, giving thanks for whatever speaks to you right at this moment. Feeling a sense of warmth and love. And gently wiggle fingers and toes. And then you can remain with the eyes closed or the gaze soft, or you can begin to bring yourself back into the room, batting the eyelashes open. And enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you so much for attending tonight's breathing technique workshop. Take care, everyone.